On today's Core of the Bible, we're looking at how to prepare ourselves to be set apart for God's use in any situation. And this comes from a passage in 2 Timothy, where it says, "In a large house there are dishes and bowls of all kinds. Some are made of silver and gold, others of wood and clay. Some are for special occasions and others for ordinary use. Those who make themselves clean from these things will be used for special purposes because they are dedicated and useful to the Master, ready to be used for every good deed." Holiness is about being sanctified or set apart for God's specific purposes. In the example that Paul uses here with Timothy, there's also an ongoing refinement that is similar to recognizing the differences between ordinary plates for everyday use and fine china that would be used for special occasions. There's a cleansing process that he mentions, saying those who make themselves clean. Sanctification, or being set apart, is partly a process that God conducts and partly a process that we are responsible for as well. In Ephesians 2, Paul writes, "God has made us what we are. He has created us in Messiah Yeshua to live lives filled with good works that he has prepared for us to do." In Psalm 119, verse 9 says, "How can a young man keep his way? By living according to your word." So in the grand sense, God has set us apart by drawing us to faith in Messiah so that we may do good things he has prepared for us to do. But by continuing to sharpen our obedience to God's word, we also distinguish ourselves from those in God's household who are content to remain simply with their sanctification from the world. In Paul's example, these are the plates used for ordinary purposes, for the basics of eating and drinking, for the rough and tumble of everyday existence. These are the plates and bowls that have chips and cracks, that have rough edges, blemishes, and marks from use. They're serviceable in the uses they're designed for, but they all carry evidence of that use and are not as likely to be used for special occasions. By contrast, the gold and silver plates and cups are those which would be used for specific events that are noteworthy, the holiday gatherings with friends and family, or the formal dinners with respected individuals and guests. Paul is implying that apart from God's sanctification from the rest of the world, we can cleanse ourselves further from rough, ordinary use into something that is useful to God in special ways. But this has to be an intentional purpose on our part, something we choose to do by disciplining ourselves in His Word to create and maintain the luster and polish required of the fine china. The context of this passage helps us frame a reference for this concept, as Paul had just mentioned previously. In 2 Timothy 2:15, he says, "Make every effort to present yourself approved to God, an unashamed workman who accurately handles the word of truth." So the making of the effort to present ourselves unashamedly to God demonstrates our willingness to manifest the great gifts that God has given us. Of course, God can use any vessel for His purpose, the fine china or regular plates, but the fine china is designed for the most special of occasions, to bear the finest foods. Why not seek to improve the opportunities for God to use you by setting yourself apart in ways that allow Him to use you in any situation? Well, I hope today's insight was helpful for you. Please be sure to visit coreofthebible.org for hundreds of other Bible articles, other podcasts, and videos. Thanks so much for listening today. Take care.